So as we start the recording, I want everyone to know that if you registered for today's webinar, you should receive a notice and with a link, an email with a link to the recording. It will appear on our website under the Learning Center, and you can view all of the recorded webinars from this year on our Financial Social Work Facebook page. You can also access our ebook on our Financial Social Work Facebook page. So with the recording going, we'll continue. Or we'll try to. So, about today's webinar, I will begin with a brief overview of financial social work because, as I mentioned, this is our largest registration ever, and that means that we have some new people with us, and I'd like to put today's session into a context so that everyone understands why it is all about behavioral change, particularly financial behavioral change. So we will discuss why behavior matters. I will explain that there are 4 R's and why I broke it into the 4 R's. We'll examine each of the 4 R's and share the steps for implementing each of the 4 R's. We will allow questions. We will have time for questions at the end of the webinar, and you can submit those questions. You should have a question box where you can submit them throughout the session, and I will try to keep an eye on those, and if one is more appropriate to respond to during the session, I will try to do that, but I will stay with everyone until we get those questions answered. So, financial social work is very much about traditional social work. It's about social justice, human rights, societal change. It's about fairness. It's about equality. It's certainly about equity with regard to finances. It's very positive. It's very interactive, introspective, and it is a behavioral model. So taking greater responsibility for your financial future requires more than just learning new financial skills. It is a process. And what do I mean by that? I mean that because creating financial stability is such a personal, individual, and emotional choice, it is something that we do on a regular basis. It's a choice we have to make daily, weekly, monthly, sometimes even minute by minute and hour by hour. And the better the choices that we make, the more choices we have in the future, and the more opportunity we're creating in our lives to have more stable emotional and financial futures. So making that choice to take greater responsibility is about education, motivation, and support. Change does not result from knowledge and information. It takes that entire process that I just discussed, and that process is driven by ongoing education, motivation, and support. And for those of you who are regular attendees at our webinars, and I certainly saw that there are a lot of you with us today, you know, and I want new people to know that we provide the education, motivation, and support through our twice monthly newsletter, through our 3 times a week blog, through Twitter. It's Financial MSW on Twitter, and we post our motivational piece on our Facebook page every day. So what does financial change look like? What is financial social work all about? It's all about success. It's about knowing where you're going. It's about help. Most of all, it's about hope, because hope opens the door to change, and hopelessness closes it. And most of all, it's about making peace and being at peace with your money. So this is a very basic graphic of how I think our financial circumstances are arrived at. We look at our relationship with money, because it's our relationship with our money that drives our financial behavior. And it is absolutely our financial behavior which determines our financial circumstances. I've not had the greatest technology day today. I'm hoping this is going to work for us through this whole session. Financial social work. We strive to change the conversation about money, to provide a different way of thinking about it, of interacting with it, and of working with clients around their money problems and issues. Although we know everyone can always do better with his or her money, and that we, as those who work, the professionals who work with clients with financial problems, that we need to be healthy, positive, hopeful role models for those clients, which means being and knowing and doing, and having the information and being able to motivate clients, to connect them to not just services that they need, but to connect them to the value in doing the work, what's in it for the client. That's the only way we can ever really engage clients. So as we move forward here, just a minute to explain to you, if you're new to us, that in the upper right hand corner you should see this box, and I hope that by now you've decided whether you're using this by phone or using a microphone and speakers as I am. If you have a question, you have your question box and you can submit it, and we will get to those later in the presentation. And you can reduce the box by double clicking on those two arrows. So I will make the section as interactive as possible. I'll be asking you to raise your hands, and you should be able to see the little hand on your dashboard up in the right hand corner. So if I ask a question and it's whether you agree or disagree, hopefully you'll let us know by raising your hand. I do have a couple of polls that you will be able to participate in. I think it's much more fun to be able to hear some of your thoughts. Although everyone is muted, it's very difficult when we have such a large attendance to unmute everyone because of background noises. So let's get going here. The 4 R's of financial behavioral change. I wish I knew if you had any ideas what those might include. Let me show you. Okay. So I want to make sure I see that there's a question in the question box, and I'd like to make sure have a survey to determine. Someone wants to know if we have a survey to know whether financial literacy is needed. Well, not a specific survey per se. I would hope that some of your organizations have intakes that they use. I certainly have intake questions that address the need for financial literacy, but we can come back to that a little later. So the 4 R's of financial behavioral change. 1 is to recognize, 2 is to reinvent, 3 is to restructure, and 4 is to reinforce. And we will be talking about those 4 areas for the next half hour at least, so you'll have lots of time if you'd like to write them down. So why 4 R's and why financial behavioral change? Well, I could talk about why for the remainder of the session, but this does it just a little more clearly, I think. Americans own more than $1 trillion in student loans, $870 billion in credit card debt, and over 11 million American borrowers are underwater on their mortgages. And so this doesn't even address how many people have lost their homes in the past few years. And we know that the number of people living in poverty continues to increase while services for those living below the poverty line continue to decline. So when you ask that question regarding financial literacy, I honestly believe that the need for financial literacy for all populations, certainly for those struggling financially, but we know that all Americans are having a difficult time. Loss of job, just in case some of you don't know, the top 3 reasons that people file bankruptcy have nothing to do with credit card debt. It's really loss of job. Well, number 1 is health care, medical expenses, then loss of job, and divorce. So we have so many social problems driving the financial problems, and many of the financial problems are, of course, a direct result of not only the economy, but of people not having the basic money management skills. I see financial literacy or financial education, and today a more popular way of looking at it is financial capability. I see it as a core life skill, but unfortunately it's a core life skill that isn't taught. It isn't taught. We're not getting it in most of our families, and we're still not teaching it. There's a very limited number of states, I think it's somewhere between 7 and 10, that mandate teaching financial literacy in the schools, and even states that want it included. If they don't include some funding to do that, it's not being taught in the schools. So until and unless behavior changes, nothing changes. This is so true. There's just no way of escaping it. And of course, our mission at the Center for Financial Social Work is to help men and women create sustainable, long-term financial behavioral change. So we'll look a little more closely at these 4 R's. So recognize the advantages of taking control of your money and gaining control of your life. And then we're going to go through steps under each one of these after we just broaden the definition a little bit. And I've already shown you the graphic about the relevance and importance of your relationship with your money. And so I know that most people don't wake up in the morning thinking about their relationship with their money. You may very well go to sleep at night and wake up in the morning worrying about your money, which we all know is unproductive behavior. But it's so much more important to think about and to reinvent your relationship with your money. So restructure. You have to restructure your financial life, and not just because I say it, but because you are ready. You want it. It's the same with clients. You know, what's in it for me? And there's so much value, and it's so much more benefit. There's so much benefit in restructuring your financial life. And then, of course, reinforcing consistently every day, paying attention to your financial life. It's how you create and reinforce sustainable, long-term financial behavioral change. So recognize, reinvent, restructure, reinforce, and that's how we get to sustainable long-term financial behavioral change. And sustainable is a very important part of that because, as I mentioned early on, we have to make that choice to do better and do more with our money, daily, weekly, monthly, minute by minute, and sometimes hour by hour. So just doing, better today or tomorrow is a good start, but making it sustainable, taking us to a better place in the future. So the benefits of financial behavioral change: less stress. The Department of Health and Human Services just came out. I really could have included that slide, identifying some of the major physical effects, the very negative impact on our health, emotionally and physically, of having debt, financial stress. So less stress, greater emotional stability. There's an absolute connection between financial circumstances and emotional stability. And by creating sustainable financial behavioral change, we improve our financial circumstances, feel more in control of our money, and are more in control of our lives. And if you can think of additional benefits, you can go ahead and put them in the question box as answers, and I will share them with the rest of the group. So, recognize the need to take control of your money in order to gain control of your life. The first step in change is knowing and choosing to make change. And so that recognized component is about understanding, that you can do better, you want to do better, and of course that you have the skills and the tools to do better. I know for sure that there are countless websites, television programs, books on money, and I know that can be I should say on money management. I know it can be confusing, but the knowledge and the information exists. At the Center for Financial Social Work, we try to deliver it in a more user-friendly method, just like the 4 R's that we're going through now. So everyone can do this. It really isn't rocket science. It's just taking some very specific steps, and that first step, and the most important step, is to make the choice to change. And I've said it numerous times already, and I will continue to say it, I'm sure, throughout the rest of our webinar, that it is all about choice. And we all have choices. And very often when we feel that we have no choices, not only is that limiting and negative thinking, but the reality is if the choices we have aren't the choices we want, we really need to start making better choices to open up the potential for more and better choices in the future. So it's all about making the choice. And what does that mean? What do we have to do to make the choice? Well, certainly we want to say that we're ready. We want to be very conscious about it and present about it, but it begins with another C word for commitment. Change is about commitment, and choice is about making the commitment and being ready not only to make it, but to follow through on it. So a really important step, I do like to incorporate something to make my audience smile, and I hope that that doesn't offend anyone. This actually is the only cartoon, I think, in today's presentation, but I thought it was fairly fitting. So I recommend making a commitment pledge to yourself, putting it in writing, dating it, and keeping it where you can see it on a regular basis, because it will connect you to the time and the date and the place that you made that commitment. And in your commitment pledge, you want to create a statement of why. Why are you making this commitment? What makes you ready today? And you want to identify a number of ways to help yourself when that commitment falters. It's a great tool to have because you create it at a very positive time in space in your life, when you feel the need and you feel ready to make your commitment. So you make a commitment pledge and you place it where you will see it easily and often, and it will allow you to have the opportunity to always know why you've made the commitment, you've made this choice, you've identified why you're doing it, and some of the steps you can take should you find yourself faltering. And we're all tested on a daily basis when it comes to spending, and we'll be talking about that more as we go forward. So every journey does begin with the first step, and commitment is a very important part of taking the first step. It means you're beginning, and it puts you on a more steady foundation for change. So it's your personal journey, and change and commitment are very, very personal, but particularly when it comes to money, if you look at it as a personal journey that you are taking, it's wonderful to have support. It's an important piece, and you'll see that on the last step, the fourth R. But it is about you, and you're the only one that can make the choice, make the commitment, and keep on track. So you get to decide when and how to begin, why and how to proceed, and where you want your path to lead you. Those are your choices. So why wait? If you want to wait, that is your choice. But it's about following your own path, understanding what's in it for you and how you can do better. And all of these concepts are totally applicable when working with clients. The more engaged they are, the more financial change, all change, as I've said, is very personal, but the more we can connect ourselves and then our clients to why this matters to them, the much more likely we are ourselves and in our work with clients to keep on track and moving forward. So we sum up step one of recognize as it's time to begin, to move forward. And once you get started, it's an amazing process because it will generate the movement and the enthusiasm and the direction that you need, because there is power and magic just in beginning. So number two, Reinvent your relationship with your money. You do remember that piece about relationship with your money. It is the foundation for your financial behavior, and that's how we create our financial circumstances. So, true or false, your relationship with your money has as much to do with your thoughts, feelings, and attitudes as it does with your spending. Let's see. Let's go over, and I want to ask you if you agree with this statement. If you think it's true that your relationship with your money has as much to do with your thoughts, feelings, and attitudes as it does with your spending, go ahead and raise your hand. If you see that little hand, you click on your hand. Okay, about 70% of you have raised your hand. I'd say that the majority of you agreed with that statement. Some of you are still voting. And thank you for your participation. So some of you went ahead and put it in the question box that you agreed. I certainly think that our relationship with our money is all about our thoughts, feelings, and attitudes. It's because it's our thoughts, feelings, and attitudes that determine whether we decide to spend or decide to save or make the decisions that have to be made. Drive to a gas station with less expensive gas. These are all based on our thoughts, feelings, and attitudes about money. So your relationship with your money is the foundation of your financial circumstances. We talked about that. An unhealthy relationship with money makes financial behavioral change more difficult. Well, this is definitely true. How healthy is your relationship with your money? You can see here a relationship continuum. Sorry about that. I am going to do a poll with everyone. And get back on track here. And this is an activity that I do, but it's difficult to do on a webinar, so I've turned it into a poll where you can indicate. I'm launching the poll right now, and on a scale of 1 to 5, you can estimate where you think you are on this continuum from unhealthy to healthy relationship with your money. Wow, we have a good group here. About 30% of you have voted. Okay, 67%. And we'll give you a few more seconds, and then I will share the results with you. Okay, I'll count it down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we will close the poll. 80% of you voted, and I will share the poll. So you can see that the majority of you consider yourself to be certainly more towards the healthy relationship with your money than the unhealthy end of that continuum. And those who go more towards the unhealthy, I'm very glad that you're with us, and I hope that all of you will find that, you have much to gain, not only with the 4 R's of financial behavioral change, but with all of the many offerings that we have with our newsletter and Facebook and these free webinars, and that you'll continue to benefit from them. So there's my interactive sign. Okay, so I need to hide that so we can continue. Okay, so many factors influence a person's relationship and behavior with money. Just going to give you a second or two to think about that. And if you'd like to share any of the things that you think contribute to someone's relationship with money, go ahead and put it in the answer box. I did mean to mention earlier that I did tell you that I was recording this webinar. We don't share the slides, but you will receive a link so that you can either watch the webinar yourself or share it with clients. Those are all things that I know our attendees like to do. So how many did you think of? Certainly one of the major influences on our relationship with money is our family. There's eco-status, gender. These are very traditional beliefs that very much drive our relationship with our money, and unless we really think about them and understand the role that they're playing, very often these factors will overrule or rule our financial lives until we really explore them and feel more connected to them and understand how they're influencing us. So it's family, eco-status, gender, age, generation, and then of course place in the life cycle, your financial experiences, religion and culture, and society and the economy. And so now we're going to go on to number 3, which is to restructure your financial life. Obviously, I could do many days of training on each of these components. I wanted to familiarize all of you with how we are doing these 4 different R's and give you some ideas so that you have some new tools and skills and ways of looking at your own money and of working with your clients. So now we're up to where and how do you begin to restructure your financial life? Well, I think just one of the absolute best ways is with your money story. We did a webinar on your money story, and I've done many different variations on the money story with different groups, and I certainly would encourage you, if you like the few slides I'm going to share on the money story, we have a recording of our money story webinar on our Facebook page that you could watch. So everyone has a money story. How connected are you to your money story? If you don't know your money story, it's going to be hard to change it. And how do you begin to tell your money story? Well, you look at your financial circumstances today, because they really tell you your money story from yesterday. That's important. Where you are today is a result of the choices you made in the past. So what are the specifics of your money story? When did it begin? Do you have any idea of your first memory around money? What money messages did you receive from your family? And we just, in the previous number 2, we were talking about the various influences on your finances, and money is, and family is certainly one of them. So the specifics of your money story. Which of your family's money messages remain a part of your money story today? How well are they working for you? Are they helpful, or do they hold you back? Okay, so we have a poll we can do on this, and let's see who had the strongest influence on you financially. Family, friends, a teacher or professor, a colleague, or was it someone else? About 50% of you have voted. We're up to 72%. 75%. Okay, we're at 79%. Anybody else want to vote? I'm going to count it down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I've honestly never seen such a strong response. So let me share that with you. And a very large majority of all of you had the good fortune. Well, I don't know if it was good fortune or not, but you learned about money in your families. And interesting, no one felt that their friends were a strong financial influence. I do see an awful lot of that today with young people around money and about wanting the newest technology and iPhone and iPad, but that wasn't the case with you. 1% of you had a teacher or professor, 2% a colleague, and 10% other. If you want to go ahead and tell us who some of those other people were, I can share that in a few minutes with everyone. So we will hide that poll and get back to the slides. So why does knowing your money story matter? Because your money story is a part of your life story, and it's an important part of who you are. And the more intimate you are with that story, the more likely you are to want to write better chapters and better outcomes and understand the role that money plays in your life. So it's important to write your past money story honestly, your future money story thoughtfully, because the content of your money story is totally yours to create. Even if you share expenses or share some part of your finances with another person, it's important that you know where your money goes, how much you make, how much you have, to whom you owe. All of that really is a piece of your money stories. So the words you choose for your story will determine your financial future. I always ask that you choose your words and your thoughts carefully, and I particularly love this little graphic. At any given moment, you have the power to say, this is not how the story is going to end. I do believe that. It's never too early. It's never too late to take control of your money. So 5 steps for writing a better money story is to give your past money story a title, to begin a new money story starting today, give it a new title, give your first chapter a title, outline your first chapter, and then write your epilogue. If you know how you want the story to end, then you can figure out the steps that will get you to those outcomes. Know where you're going. These were just some comments that someone shared with me after doing the money story with some clients. I thought it might be of interest to some of you to see this. I'll just give you a minute to read these. And I will continue. So your money story, when you use it with clients, it helps them to understand how and why they are where they are and to connect to where they want to be in the future. It's an excellent tool for everyone on the webinar and for all of your clients. It's absolutely one of my favorite because it's neutral, it's non-threatening, but it provides a lot of self-awareness. So look for the opportunity to open a money discussion, certainly one with a money story topic, and to keep it simple, non-judgmental, and non-threatening. Any ideas of some of the titles you might use for your past money story and then for the new money story you want to start? You can share those. I'd look forward to seeing those when we take the questions. So taking control of your money in your life requires having a plan, and traditionally that plan is called, you know, the B word for budget. And we use something that we call a personal spending and saving strategy, or a personal spending and saving plan. And it's really more than a budget to the extent that it's more comprehensive and has greater potential for engaging, encouraging, motivating, and supporting financial change and success. We exchange our time and talents at work to make a living, because living means that we have expenses, and it's only by managing our money that we're able to have enough money to meet our needs, and perhaps then more money to meet our wants. So part of a personal spending and saving strategy is always we need to know how much money we make or have and what our expenses are. That's the only way to have any sense of our financial picture. So saving is not the opposite of spending. Saving is about planning. It is not about sacrificing. It is future-oriented, but reward-driven. We too often look at savings just as it's very common to look at a budget as punitive, even though there's no corporation or agency or organization that can survive or operate without one. So spending is about instant gratification. Saving is about delayed gratification. The more we and our clients understand the difference, the more likely we are to make better financial choices to create better financial futures. And I'm not usually one to give lists of basic steps, but for the purpose of this restructure R of the 4 R's, I just thought I would include a very simple few steps to show what we need to do to have a helpful, functional personal spending and saving strategy. It's always about monitoring your progress, but it's also about making progress, not looking for perfection. So number 4, these are just some ideas and reminders of how we reinforce the other 3 R's of financial behavioral change. They're tips for following through and following up. A plan or a strategy is only as good as the time and the effort devoted to it. So we made a commitment. We've learned a number of steps to help us to move through the various R's of recognize, reinvent, restructure. And it's always, I've talked about that sustainable component. If we want to sustain something, it means focusing on it, staying connected to our goals. What are the outcomes we want to achieve? I spoke earlier about how our thoughts, feelings, and attitudes about money drive our financial behavior. They create the foundation for our relationship with our money. When you know, understand, accept, and appreciate that you are the expert on your own life, if you can stay connected to that belief and understand that you have the right to set your own goals and to spend and to save as you see fit, as you want to do to create a better future. And if you're willing to put in the time and the effort required to be successful, then you will be successful. And you do that by reinforcing everything we discussed today. And you want to assess and reassess your progress. Self-assessment is the gift that keeps on giving. Once you have it, you may still make choices that aren't really the best for you, but now you know, and this is 100% the same with clients. Once we know that we've made the wrong choice or a poor choice, we're less likely to make that kind of choice again in the future. We want to validate and reconnect to our efforts. We don't want to think in terms of perfection, but of progress. One step forward and another step forward, and you have 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and you're still going to make it around the track. So remember that debt and financial problems are toxic and stressful. They're not the way to go. You need to schedule time with your money. The time you invest in your money is as important as the money you invest in your future. So that raises a question, and that question would be, how much time? And I believe that is our last poll. I know we have one more after this. Let's launch this poll. How much time should you spend with your money? I gave you several options. I put 1 hour every day, 2 hours every day, 1 hour every week. Okay. %50 of you have voted. We had 80% the last two polls. Anybody want to get us there? We're at 64%. I don't know if we're going to get to 80%. We're at 70. And I'll count it down. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we got to 76%, 77%. And I'm going to close it, and I'll share it with you. So, the majority of you had the right answer. 1 hour a week. And when I work with clients and ask that question, very often they feel they can do 1 hour a day. What we don't want is to burn out when it comes to spending time with our money. Once you are all set up with a money management system, you should be able to get connected to your financial picture and manage your money, spending 1 hour a week with it. And I often have the next question is, well, it doesn't take me an hour every week to manage my money, just to write my checks out. So there are lots of other things you can do with that hour. You certainly can spend time learning more about money, reading about money online, in books. If you use that 1 hour wisely, it will benefit you greatly. So how much time? We already answered that one. And then I have, this will be the last poll, is identify your spending and stress triggers. That's a really major component of money management. So I tried turning that into a poll, which looks like this. Which is a bigger, when are you more likely to spend? When you feel happy, when you feel sad, when you're worried? You can choose more than one option on this last poll. Very interesting. Not a lot of you seem to want to vote. We're up to 40%. %56. Okay. Last chance. I'm going to count it down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got to 70% voted, 71%. And let me show you the results. About 50% of you like to spend when you're happy, a little less on when you're sad, quarter of you when you're worried, a good portion of you for good news. I think that that's pretty accurate. At least it is for me, and that's how I came up with the poll. But really, there are so many different feelings and so many different circumstances that can cause us to feel that need, that want to go out and spend. And for some, it's the reverse. You know, it makes them hold on to their money more. But the more connected we are to the stresses that trigger spending, the better off we're going to be, because we'll understand that it is just a feeling or a circumstance, and that it will pass, and that we don't have to disconnect from the commitment that we've made to creating a better financial future. So it's important to develop a plan to counteract the triggers, and your commitments statement is your commitment pledge. It's a really good place to identify that, so that when you're tempted to go off of your plan, your financial strategy, your money management plan, you can go to that commitment pledge and see what you said you would do when you're feeling the need to spend. So where are you on this stress skills ladder? And certainly setting goals, personal goals as well as financial goals, working to achieve them, using them as part of your money story, knowing where you want your story to take you, where you want your money to go. Have you ever asked yourself what you want your money to do for you? If you don't know, you're not likely to have your money be all it can be in your life. Visualize your financial future. Act as if. Share your journey with a trusted friend, but that does mean trusted. Someone who will support you, not sabotage you, but always be your own best friend. Believe in yourself. Believe in your ability to create a better financial future. If you do one thing differently each day, you will very quickly find yourself in a better financial situation. Lots of ways to reinforce your commitment to the 4 R's. And those are the 4 R's. You can register on our website for our twice monthly newsletter, and it has the top 10 money articles from across the internet for our financial social work community. We're also on Twitter, we're on Facebook, and we do have this monthly webinar. And now I am going to take your questions and answer them. So I'm trying to find a couple of people did write in whether they agreed with that statement, but I honestly don't remember what the statement was. Someone wrote in, I work with clients in preparing for home ownership. One of the major components is financial literacy, but I find that some of my clients get discouraged and sometimes give up despite my encouragement and work with them. What suggestions would you suggest? I think that when you're able to help clients understand what's in it for them, it is and can be discouraging when we have financial challenges, but while we can't reach every client, we can reach some clients. And certainly the money story is a very empowering activity that is very encouraging to clients, because we're offering them the opportunity to really look at how and why they are where they are now, and then identify where they want to be in the future. And sometimes we can't engage the client at this moment in time, but that doesn't mean that the work we're doing won't take root at a different time in the future. People's lives today are so complicated and they're so busy, and it's difficult to really reach people in the way that we would like to. But I can tell you for sure that I understand that it's not by focusing on the budget that we're going to get clients. Yes, everyone needs to know how much money they make, how much money they have, where their money goes. But very often clients have had this experience numerous times and been told that they needed budgets. We want to engage the client in a non-threatening way, in a way that feels safe to the client, makes sense to the client, and helps not only the client, but each of us to reach a better, healthier, safer place. And that's about our relationship with our money, because that's what drives our behavior and determines our financial circumstances. Okay, I know I had never asked people to put things into the question box as the answers, and now that you were kind enough to do that, I don't remember all of the questions that you're responding to, and I so apologize for that. So I'll have to do a better job on that next month. Okay, some people did share. I know what these answers are. Some people did share who influenced their money, where they learned about money. Family, other, self, media, and life, a past employer. Someone shared that boredom makes her want to spend, and that I can believe. I work in a runaway homeless shelter. How would you suggest working with youth who have had little to no experience with financial literacy, as well as those whose parents have taught them that financial issues aren't important? Again, this is not, it is a process, and it's not something that happens overnight. But I would absolutely, again, use the money story as a starting point. I would try to excite these young people about what good financial management can look like and how it can help them today and in the future. Ask them what money means to them. What is money? What because we are the ones who give so much power to money. Money really is simply a form of exchange. It isn't the root of all evil. It obviously doesn't grow in trees. If you can find out what the young person thinks about money, what he or she believes money is or isn't. And very often when I ask someone, what do you want your money to do for you? It's like, huh? I mean, because he or she never thought about, well, what do I want my money to do for me? Well, if I need a car, or I want a car, and I want enough money to pay for the car, well, then how am I going to get that money? And if we can connect to why we want our money to do something for us, i.e. the client, then we are in a better place to devise a plan, a success plan and strategy that we can work with clients on. I hope that that makes sense to you. When I'm having a bad day, I like to spend money to make someone else happy. I may buy a card, donuts for the office, or an inexpensive lunch for a friend. Well, that's very lovely. It really is. And if you have, and everyone should have, some disposable income, some small amount at least of money that you can use at your own discretion, then if that's part of your budget, then you're okay to do that. If it's not, okay, number 7 on the list of steps. I'll flip back to the steps after I go through these questions, if that's okay. Will we be getting a certificate? There are no CEUs for this. I am sorry, but it's not a CEU program. I can give you a certificate for 1 hour, but it's not CEU affiliated. How do you get so smart? Not in public school, obviously. I guess that's a compliment. Thank you. Did I say there is a webinar on writing your money story? If so, how do we find it? If you go to Financial Social Work on Facebook and go under our recordings, we did that webinar probably 3 or 4 months ago. It will probably have the name of the webinar. If not, you can email me at Reeta, R-E-E-T-A, at financialsocialwork.com, and I will try to find you the recording. Will I be able to print this information? No, you can just share the recording with your clients. Someone asks what the opposite of a diva is, and I don't know that answer. If someone knows it, please share it with me so I can give a good response to that. How do you continue to keep clients engaged? Well, you know, we can't do the work for our clients as much as we are often tempted and willing and wishing we could. And so if you help that client to understand what's in it for me, then the client and you both know what you're working to achieve. And that way, you are moving forward together. It's not about the money. It's about the relationship we have with our money and the behavior that we practice with our money. This whole psychosocial aspect is the reason it is about behavioral change. We can't just say, okay, here's a budget, here's what you need to do. Stop spending your money on fast food, cable, this or that. Um, Only the client can make that decision to make that change. And so with these 4 R's, recognizing, engage the client in making a commitment pledge. A great tool is, I am blocking the word, a great tool is to use a collage. Have your client make a collage of what he or she wants his or her money to do in the future. And when you put these things in places where you see them frequently, the client can integrate these materials into her thinking and her behavior. But again, it is a process, and we can share that journey with our clients, but we cannot make it for them. I hope that was helpful. I work with TANF clients, which it is not enough to live on month by month. Even basic things like school clothes are hard to budget for. Just thought I would share. I understand that, and I've been told many times that my clients wouldn't be interested in this because they don't have the money to do anything better, to be in a better place. Well, if that's what we believe, then that's what the client will believe. But if we can deliver the message that there is always hope, and there is always hope, and if I had the time, I would share those stories with you of how people have created better lives emotionally and financially with this work, then you would know that it is possible. We want to excite clients into believing and hoping for a better future and taking the steps to create one. And with welfare reform and with the reduction in services and the increase in those living below the poverty line, we need to find different ways of doing it. And I know that we can do it. We are a company that creates very user-friendly financial education materials that have trouble finding ways to connect with consumers. Mostly right now our clients come to us because they're facing bankruptcy. Any suggestions on how to reach out to consumers with motivating messages? Well, certainly it's always a challenge to reach clients. And what we're really asking them to do is to change. So it's always about helping people understand what they can get out of it. It's not about telling them how wonderful this is for them. It's about finding out what would motivate them to want to do things better, to want to do things differently. And you may need to find new and different ways to outreach to your potential clients. The main issue with the youth in the shelter is that they are here for a short time, less than 30 days, and sometimes only a few days. Well, I would work as fast and as hard as possible to connect them. And, I mean, I have created many, many, many activities and materials other than the money story, but for short time therapy to connect people to the financial component of their lives, I just don't think there really is a better tool. I do a money mission statement, which is a great tool also, but the collage, but they're all great activities, but the money story is something that a young person will be able to relate to and continue with after leaving the shelter. Clients ask, how are they supposed to save if they are not making enough money for living expenses? How do I address this with clients? Well, we address it honestly. We try to help clients to understand that they can have a better future and have more in the future, and discuss what steps they would need to take to be in that place in the future. We can't, this is, my magic wand ran out a long time ago. I can't wave it and make things better for my clients or your clients or anyone on the call, but I can tell you that people are amazingly resilient, and if you connect them to what they want their money to do for them, and to the fact that there is hope and that they can create a better future using some of the tools we discussed today, they'll get it. Not everyone will get it, but some of them will get it. And actually, I think you want to ask more questions than you do talking, because the client is the expert on his or her own life. And the more connected they are to that, the more they're going to want to create a better future for themselves. It could be helpful to correct the widespread misconception that the Bible says money is the root of all evil. Rather, the love of money, that's right, is the root of many injurious things. Really, obsession is a big problem. Yes, this is very true. Can I receive the 1-hour certificate? If you would email me at Reeta, R-E-E-T-A, at financialsocialwork.com, I will send that to you. Reeta, thank you. It was interesting. I will we'll visit the website. The National Endowment for Financial Education has numerous resources free of charge for college students, high school students, and individuals, and all resources are free of charge. That's the NEFE, National Endowment for Financial Education. Does a participant need money in order to follow the 4 R's? Well, it's really the 4 R's are about behavioral change. And so if you're lacking money now, it's about behaving in a way that will increase revenue so that you have more money to save and to reduce debt. We certainly didn't focus on debt today because it was about behavioral change. My email, Amanda, is Reeta, R-E-E-T-A, at financialsocialwork.com. If you go to our website, financialsocialwork.com, there are a number of places you can probably just click on and send me that email. Well, that looks like all of our questions, and we've been on the call for a very long time, so I want to thank all of you for joining me. We haven't chosen a topic yet for next month, but you will all be invited to next month's webinar, and I wish all of you a more money-wise day, week, month, and life. Thank you so much. Bye now.